The second generation of Monster Hunter is full of mean beasties, and none more tolerable than, well, I guess Nargacuga, because everyone likes Nargacuga, but the second, well, there's also Kush. No one likes Kush. But then again, the one we're really trying to get at here is Tigrex, or officially known now as Tigrex, which is the stupidest thing in Capcom. You're wrong. Anyway, so Tigrex is here, and let's talk about him real quick. So first and foremost, Tigrex made his debut in the second generation, as I said, and I'm pretty sure it's Free Unite. Now, mind you, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I've never played a second generation game, so when I'm talking to you about the Tigrex, the unrelenting monster, the unrelenting fury that is the pseudo wyvern of Tigrex, I can't necessarily speak on what happened in the second generation, which is strange because that is his debut generation. So everything I'm going to talk about in the second generation is based on hand-on experience from other hunters. So bear with me because I won't be able to break it down in full detail because I only know so many sparse details. With that being said, I'm ready to tell you now that Tigrex, if you've never fought Tigrex in the second generation, fear not because he hadn't changed a whole lot. That's the one thing I truly like about Tigrex. I mean, I don't like him, but one of the things I do admire, respect about Tigrex is that he hasn't changed a whole lot, doesn't need to change a whole lot. He's had this particular set of moves, if you want to call them moves or attacks or whatever, since his inception, and for the most part it's just running around. Like, that's his thing. Tigrex runs around all over the place. His hitbox in second generation, whoa boy, them things was janky. Like, the entire body was a massive hitbox and it extended like 8 feet in each direction. These are hyperbole, of course, but for the most part, this is the second generation, and you know, Monster Hunter was a little jank back then, so you would come up as at the Tigrex and he would like do a thing, or he'd stop doing a thing and you'd still get hit by it. You know, those weird lingering hitboxes. That's all what second generation was all about. Now, to make it even worse, if anything else, we know that he runs you down. If you fought him already, you know that that's what he does. He kind of runs all over the place, runs this way, runs that way, runs this way, run that way, spin right here, push a rock, that kind of thing. He's done all that stuff his entire life. Now imagine all of that with incredibly janky hitboxes. That was second generation Tigrex, and for the most part he was annoying because, well, hell, the second generation was annoying. Once you got used to the jank that is the second gen, and you kind of knew to like run away or dodge roll completely out of the way from certain attacks, you can kind of get the job done, and it actually kind of worked out. Now let's move a little bit further. He did make his appearance again in the third generation, that will be in Portable Third. Now here's the thing, I've not fought him in Portable Third, but I've played a little bit of Portable Third, but I haven't fought him again, so I can't really speak on him in Portable Third. But what I can say is that, well, it's Tigrex. I imagine it's just all the same, because, you know, whatever. If anything, the only thing they truly cleaned up was some of his hitboxes, because actually I'm pretty sure it was Brute Tigrex in Portable Third. I usually fact check these, but I'm not fact checking it this time. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. But anyway, so let's move over to the generation that truly matters, fourth and beyond, because, you know, this one, he became more popular, and we got a bunch of things to talk about in the fourth gen because, well, he has the rare species and the variant, well, excuse me, the subspecies, and the deviant, that's what it's called. I almost called it, I did call it a variant, but you know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so nevertheless, fourth generation came around, we have Tigrex once more. Tigrex made his appearance in For You for us Westerners and whatnot, so this is where a lot of us actually got our rocks off with him. So again, the biggest thing about him, he runs all over the place, he slaps you, he pushes rocks, and he roars. Now I guess you're wondering, well, Dak, you said the same thing like 5 times now, nothing is truly and earnestly changed. And yeah, you're right, nothing truly and earnestly has changed about this guy. But the thing I want to actually make very clear is that he is not easy. Now, I'm sure we've all played Monster Hunter, obviously, that's where you click this video, but Tigrex is a monster who runs you down, rushes relentlessly, and suffocates you with his presence. How does he do that? He just puts himself in your face. And you can't really do much when in this game, you take huge chunks of damage, stun, you have to go back through the recovery frames and everything else. There's not necessarily a lot of armor on a lot of attacks, and the monsters, they can just slug them things like crazy until magically they hit enough and then they get stunned or whatever. So with a monster who has the ability to just rush you down, making it to where you yourself can't swing that often, force you to roll all over the place, use up all your stamina trying to either block or roll out the way, he can be kind of difficult, and he is, and that's his thing. Now, I talked very, very much about how he just runs all over the place. That's not all he has, but let's actually talk about his secret weapon. His secret weapon is his roar. I skipped over up to this point because I want to talk about it now, because it was right now where it got really, really crazy, because there's another guy we're going to talk about. Heck yeah, we're moving. So his roar is important. His roar is one of the few monster roars that actually damage you, and he's actually like the one monster who can use his roar as a direct means of attack. The initial time when you see Tigrex, you will not be inflicted with the roar, but once well, anytime he roars after the initial, the surprise look on his face, that roar is going to smack you. Now, depending on when you are in the game, low rank, high rank, G rank, sorta, it really depends on how hard that smack will hit. But just know that it's not like a proper slap. And I mean, it's still, don't get me wrong, it's a proper slap, but it's not like one that'll drain you for like 70% of your health, as if he would like push a rock or do that really slow tailspin. That thing sucks, because that move takes an incredible amount of chip, but not in the 5th gen, because they nerfed my man Tigrex to the freaking floor in 5th gen. But nevertheless, so he has the roar. The roar does damage. The roar is a great get off me attack, because in the earlier days it was like a 270-degree huge cone of death. I mean, it extended pretty far, and if you're right up on it, you're gonna get that hit too. Again, nerfed in 5th gen, but we won't get to 5th gen later. So he has the ability to run you down. I mean, literally just run you down. He'll scratch at the ground, he'll scratch on the wall. I mean, you just, you can't breathe. One of the best things I've ever seen of him was when they were first showing off, what game was it? Gen U. Gen. We didn't know it was Gen yet, but it was the next generation of Monster Hunter, whatever that Capcom was calling it, and it was him versus Tigrex, and he was climbing on the walls, and he was jumping on the walls, he was leaping all over the place. They kind of revitalized that a little bit in the opening cutscene to 4U, but him just running at you just with all this anger and just giving you no space to breathe was exactly what Tigrex epitomizes. But now that we have all the basics out of the way, he himself has a subspecies known as Brute Tigrex. Now I bet you're wondering, what can they do to make a monster who doesn't actually shoot anything and whose main thing is to just run at you be a little bit different? Now remember the roar. Brute Tigrex uses the roar as a direct means of attack, whereas Tigrex had the ability to use it and it could hurt you. Brute Tigrex wants it to hurt you. That's his bag. He will do a roar combo of like 3 roars. He'll just roar, then he'll take 2 back steps, roar again, then he'll like side over here, roar again. I mean, it's crazy, and I love it. My favorite version of Tigrex is actually the Brute Tigrex, because Brute Tigrex is just what Tigrex already was, but then literally more Tigrex, more badass Tigrex, everything he had on top of more stuff he can get. And he used the coolest thing I liked about him, which was the roar. It stressed me out a bit, but he used it as a direct means of attack. Man was godlike. So the one thing to truly watch out for my man Tigrex when it comes to the Brute variant, that is your spacing. Remember what I said about how he runs you down? Well, now he has, well, he's always had, but now he's more reluctant, not reluctant, he's more inclined, that's the word, he's more inclined to use his feints. What that means is he'll run at you, as he does, and then he'll stop, and then he looks like he's gonna do something, but he won't. A feint, it makes you think. It's like, we'll do that roll, then when you do roll, he catches you on the back foot. It's like, I caught you slipping, and then he punishes you for using a roll. Brute Tigrex would do this and then roar. Oh my god, bro, let me tell you something. And Brute Tigrex roar isn't a proper attack, guys. It's proper. I mean, you can get slapped by it and die. I've died many times to this roar. Godlike monster. I love him in every regard. Now, in the 4th gen, there was one more Tigrex. When you're a flagship monster, you get so much, okay? You get so much. The love is unrequited. You don't even have to be in a movie. I think he'll be in a movie. I mean, this is Tigrex, obviously. He'll probably be in a movie at one point or another. But Tigrex got a rare species known as Molten Tiger X. Now, Molten Tiger X was big boy. He was large body, really big Tigrex, and his biggest claim to fame was that he had Blast. At the time, Blast, in huge quotations, Roxas put the quotations, Blast was new. Because last gen we had Slime. Same thing, but way weaker. Anyway, Blast everyone has now, and Molten Tiger X got Blast. He had Blast Dust, and the coolest thing about his Blast Dust, he would use it as a means of just flooding the entire arena with it. He'd spin his little tail spin that does incredible amounts of chip, and he'll throw the dust everywhere. Just him swinging his arms will throw the dust everywhere. And of course, I'm pretty sure, fact check me someone else, that when he clamps down with his teeth, much like Tigrex, wow, Teostra, he will cause the explosion and the big boom. Nevertheless, it's another way to actually run away from Tigrex. Now, we talked about how Tigrex likes to run you down. This is the exact same thing in every iteration. Molten Tiger X now throws Blast Dust everywhere. If you get hit with the Blast Dust, you do know if you get hit with a Blast Dust and then you hit with some more Blast Dust, you blow up. So what is he trying to do? He'll spread the Blast Dust and then chase you down. And what does his attacks give? His attacks give Blast Dust. So if he doesn't hit you and blow you up, the Blast Dust will touch you and blow you up. he just makes it so tough to just breathe. That's his thing. That's Tigrex's thing, making it tough for you to stand up and fight for yourself, because he wants to control the entire fight from second one. But last but not least, geez, come on, whatever. Anyway, so we have one more Tigrex to talk about, the Deviant Tigrex. He was also introduced in the 4th gen. Generations, which is still technically 4th gen. Deviant Tigrex, also known as Grimclaw Tigrex, is, I don't know what to say. This is like Super Tigrex, not like Molten Tigrex or Brute Tigrex. It's like Tigrex regular, with more attacks, less emphasis on the roaring, but he has a really like cracked out arm, and he likes to, like, remember I talked about pushing rocks? I said like 15 paragraphs ago, he pushes rocks. That's his thing. He doesn't shoot fire, he doesn't breathe electricity, he pushes rocks. I don't know what else to say. It's like he puts his foot on the ground and then just pushes, and the rocks pop out. He has this ability now to where he will boom, slam it on the ground, and then big rocks pile up. I mean, it looks kind of silly. Yeah, he really has a very cool design. You can see the red veins in his wings and whatnot. That's really cool. Deviant Tigrex, also known as the one who actually appeared in the last game that everyone really liked, and he had the EX variant of EX Tigrex. That Tigrex is the strongest Tigrex to ever exist, ever, in the last deathly dangerous Tigrex, because when he transferred to the 5th gen, this is where he gets bad for my man. Believe in Iceborne, Tigrex made an appearance, and then he also had Brute Tigrex laying in the cut. This monster is nerfed. Remember the roar? The roar no longer has the range. It doesn't have range at all. Like, you can be directly in front of him and not get hit with the roar whatsoever. So that's the first big thing we got to knock off. I had a huge video talking about how much I hated the way they nerfed Tigrex, but we'll just brief it up here. They reduced his range on the roar. They reduced the damage on the roar. They reduced the knockback he had on the tailspin. They reduced the damage on the tailspin. The only thing he keeps is his momentum chasing you down, but with the 5th generation, give you so many greater ways of mobility by literally sliding all over the place. The wire bug, we're putting Rise in there as well. It allows you to confound him, finally. The one thing you couldn't do, which was just somehow get completely away from him, well, the toughest thing to do, is now the easiest thing to do, period. With the Clutch Claw in Iceborne World, you could just whoop whoop and you're gone. With the wire bug, oh my god, just whoop and you're gone. It's simple. So he's no longer a serious threat. His damage has been reduced, his abilities have been reduced. He is the worst variant of himself he's ever been. And for that, I like to say, Tigrex, you had us going real strong in the first couple gens, my guy, but now you're lacking up. So I don't know, when Sunbreak comes out, we may see another variant of Tigrex, maybe Brute Tigrex or whatever, or maybe a completely different new beastie. If not, we'll still see G-Rank Tigrex, and hopefully they give him back a little bit of his luster, because for what it is, the mad titan of a monster, Tigrex himself, has been rushing relentlessly for forever, and it's the first time we kind of slowly but surely put a little stop to that. Before, he was like the Juggernaut, like in Marvel Comics. Once he starts going, you can't stop him. Now, he hit a roadblock.